proven today that you can have a healthy crowd out here. And I haven't counted folks, but, you know, I'd say we're definitely looking at the biggest crowd of the season. It's a vocal crowd, an excited crowd, and they've got a great game on their hands. A forehand pull goes up from Marcus Thaw, covers a lot of distance. Felipe Delgado sends it up to Max Shepard. Van Duzen running downfield, leaving space in the middle for Morse. Linda Morse catches up to a well-placed downfield throw. Owen Watt goes back to help her. He's all alone for a while. Van Duzen working against Swift, who is a terrific defender. And a stall warning called. Felipe Delgado clipped a little bit maybe by Johnson. Van Duzen, these are pinpoint passes, and they're not easy. They look, because they're covering not a lot of downfield space, mostly lateral space. They don't look as hard as they are, but this is a wide field. It's 53 yards wide. Max Shepard needs a little bit of help, and he throws an inside back to Sam Van Duzen. And defense downside is intense. That one a little bit tough to handle, but Van Duzen pulls it down, laces an inside out. Running to it is Max Shepard, but he can't catch up. And that looked like it was a sort of in-between. DC benefiting from some very, very intense and tight defense. Max Shepard marking Bartenstein, my apologies. And beautiful block by Lemansky, who had the height advantage over Bowser, but was looking for a way to get an angle without fouling, and she did. Lemansky now being forced to the middle, but she throws an inside out downfield, and then Sam Van Duzen lays one out in front of Molly Moore, and just to make sure, Molly catches it with both hands, goes down, stands up, gives the disc a little kick, and a little kick for the Supercell. With about 3 minutes remaining in this period, they go up 15-12, and that three, it's a little bit tough for the DC mixed team to get past. They break, but then the Thunderbirds come back. Going to see if we can get Supercell player Amanda Erlinson to talk to us for just a second. Amanda, that was a great point for you, and continuing to get open downfield and then having no trouble with those marks. You play a lot of mixed ultimate. What are some of the keys to playing mixed ultimate that a single-sex player might have trouble adjusting to?
Well, one key to mixed ultimate, I think, is making space for your teammates. And gender might, you might have to be aware of whether the person in front of you or behind you in the cutting is male or female, but I think making space for your teammates is a tenet of good ultimate no matter what gender you're playing.
But maybe more critical here where, you've got maybe a greater danger of poaching sometimes and mismatches. You guys seem to be doing a great job meshing with each other. You've only had a couple of practices in the scrimmage. How do you explain it?
I think, yeah, a lot of the Pittsburgh players have had a chance to play together in the past, so that certainly helps. But we're just, doing our best, making adjustments as we go along, and hoping it works out.
Do you feel like DC has turned up the intensity? Because it looks like they have.
Yeah, I mean, they're really great ultimate players, and they're never going to take off the intensity.
You enjoying yourself?
Totally, yeah, this is super fun.
Terrific. Thanks so much, Amanda Erlinson, player for Pittsburgh Supercell, and a leader in the Pittsburgh mixed community, player for Alloy. We've got a disc going up. We missed a little action there, but Janie Mockrish pulling down a goal to bring DC back to within 2, and Supercell pushing hard to try to open up that lead a little bit, but DC hanging tough and playing tough, and you can just see the defensive intensity has been ratcheted up by then, and starting to see these Supercell players coming off the field a little bit more tired. The question is, can they maintain that surge if the Supercell team is able to just stay ahead of them, stay calm, handle the disc well? But you can see on hotly contested throws on this field, there's always the possibility that you're going to make a mistake and put the disc on the carpet, and DC has capitalized wherever possible. So we'll see if we can expect the same thing with Pittsburgh now moving downwind and downhill. This field slants a little bit. I don't know if it makes as big a deal in rugby, which is what this field is usually used for, but in ultimate, running downhill can be tricky because a huck that is at head level when it's released can rise just as you descend. Jonathan Mast finds Pagano in the middle of the mix. She's quickly joined by Smolin. A big huck goes up. Max Shepard and Matt Neely running to it. Shepard looks like he has the advantage, and he does. Picks it up. Out of the air. Neely giving hot pursuit, but you can see he never had a chance against Max, and Max didn't wait for it to come down. He rarely does. He just climbed the ladder, brought it down, and that's got to be disheartening for DC, playing with such defensive intensity to shut down the in-cuts on previous points and just to lose on 2 throws there. Didn't see who it was who threw that one, but I'm sure we're going to get the ID. Yep, Pat Mack. Yep, Sam Van Duzen. Probably could have closed my eyes. Yeah. Closed my eyes and called that number. Sam Van Duzen with a big huck that Max Shepard pulls down. Thunderbirds send out a defensive team here with 1:45 in this quarter. And if they get a break opportunity, you might see 0-1 come back out on the field, because at this point, increasing this lead to 4 would make a big difference. Maxstat being marked by Robart. She floats one out into space. Tori Rowland hard on the mark against Wallace. She sends one up to Brad Scott. He pivots into the middle, finds Maxstat. Holland jumps up to catch it. He's quickly joined by May. May forces it the backhand side, and it's on the far sideline from us. Clenenden throws it back to Holland. Holland launches one across the field, being tracked and picked up by Christine Balvo. And again, that's one of those long cross-field throws that doesn't look hard, but is. Trucks Trimble had a possible maybe block against Kerrigan, couldn't recover, and Maxstat catches it in the end zone, and it's back to 2, 16-14, a minute left. And what you saw there was DC very effectively moving the disc back and forth across the field. And eventually, as the Supercell defenders over pursued, they found a hole in the backside.
Are you sure? 1C1. There's no line going over it. I don't know. That's a G.
AT and Mast having an intense discussion about how to read a broken scoreboard, but we can be pretty sure we're down to about a minute left. We're going to watch this last point over here with Jess Mast. Jess, you're getting a chance to play with your brother. Is that something you haven't been able to do that at this high a level before? How's that for you?
It's fun. We normally play the same role, so we tease each other about taking the disc away from each other. So he says he doesn't like playing with me, and I like playing with him, but we just have to work on our chemistry.
It seems like at this point there's enough touches to go around for both of you.
Yeah.
We've got less than a minute left, and Owen Watt pops one up to Max Shepard. Max Shepard surveys it downfield. He's got Van Duzen up the line, and he sends it into the end zone. Is Van Duzen in or out? He's on the doorstep. He's called in, and he throws an impulsive and ill-advised left-handed push pass. Of course, that's the hand he'd throw it with, but he really didn't need to do that. They still had 34 seconds left, and push pass and he really didn't need to do that are two phrases that tend to go together unless your name is Tad Whistle and you're throwing a skyhook. It didn't work out, and the Thunderbirds squander an opportunity right on the doorstep. I'm sure Sam Van regrets that, though. I'm sure he'd have enjoyed it if he converted it. Delrico Johnson shoots one up out in front of Bucksbaum, and she pulls it down. Molly Moore had an opportunity to get a block. She got there a little late, but it didn't matter. Got 10 seconds left. Max Shepard's got it. He needs a receiver. He throws one deep and across the field. Tracking it is Delrico Johnson and Sam Van Duzen. Johnson gets it. 2 seconds left. Throws one up. Looks like it's going to fall short of the goal line. Could be an AUDL period-ending greatest where you catch the sucker out over fair territory with your feet off the ground and send it into the end zone. But it wasn't. Instead, it falls harmlessly. And we are at 16-14 with 1 period left. And this game, all the action, we see the score move 1. DC picks up 1 goal against the 3-goal deficit that they had prior to the start of this half. So you can hear them came out chanting at the second half, they're going to have to do more than whittle away one goal. They're going to have to get two to force this one to OT. We're going to try to get a hold of referee Brian Heim or Mike Gorham to ask about whether or not in the AUDL that would work. But right now they're on the far side of the field, and I'm not entirely sure of the rule. So maybe Pat Hammonds will know. Pittsburgh with a quarter to go. 2-goal lead to protect, receiving the disc. Offensive team will come out on the field. Standouts in that period. Really nice handling again from Kat Pagano and Max Shepard, of course, as he is all the time, always all over the field. Jordan Robar's rock steady. Get a chance to talk to some of these guys. We're going to start this quarter. It's going to be a 4-women quarter. If we can, we're going to get a chance to talk to Sarah Lemansky. Getting some water. Sarah, I wanted to ask you as a women's youth coach and a college coach, and you're going to be coaching Pitt's B team High Voltage, is that correct?
Yep.
So tell me what it means to you as a women's coach to be able to be part of a game like this, which hopefully is the future of Pro Ultimate. What does it do for you to be able to show something like this to your players?
Yeah, I think, well, that was the biggest reason for me in trying to make this game happen, is to give visibility to young boys and girls, both, and youth women's players, the chance to watch really great female athletes on the field and have them on the same equal footing as the men that are out here making just as big of plays and playing just as hard.
And I don't think you'd disagree with me, but you know, I've watched every AUDL game that this team has played save one, and I can't remember a game that was much more exciting than this one or played at such a high level. And so I feel like it's working. What's your sense of the energy from the crowd and from the players and everybody involved?
I think it's just a great community event. Everybody's here working their hardest, here to support the initiative of getting women on the field in the pro landscape. And the energy from the crowd, I mean, it might be silly, but walking into the locker room at halftime, I felt really great having everybody cheering for us. It was really fun.
Well, I know that it's been thrilling to watch some of the best players in our community be able to come out and play in this single game home game format in front of a crowd, but there's been something missing because, you know, half the best players in town are women players, and it's just great to get to see them take the field in that situation. And I know with a rising college freshman who's planning to play college ultimate, it's exciting for me that she's going to get a chance to see something like this. So have a great last quarter. It's a barn burner, and I know you guys want to win just as much as any game you play. So get out there and do your best, and you're playing great so far. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. Go Supercell.
Sarah Lemansky of Supercell, and also coach of University of Pittsburgh High Voltage. And Pittsburgh going to start. Ryan Ciccione with the disc, ready to send it down to DC Mixed. DC Mixed is going to come out with an offensive team that's been increasingly effective but unable to break through and erode this lead too much. Lined up for them are Mockrish and Brad Scott, Clenendon, Ross, Wallace, Norbaum, and hometown boy Xavier Maxstat. Meanwhile, Thunderbirds are going to counter with their D team. Looks like they're sending out Ciccione with the disc. Morse, Tori Rowland, tremendous player. Tori, a great natural athlete and an outdoors woman and an ebullient presence, one of my favorite people in the community. And speaking of ebullient presences, and I think I might just call that number wrong, but it's another one of my favorite people. Shayna Repperman turned around, saw the 6. AT, Alex Thomas, Big Papa Thomas. And next to him, Pat Mack. And it looks like Jess Mass is out there too. Got a chance to talk to her. So she's far away from me, and actually, I miscalled that one too. That might be, well, I'm going to wait until I see who else is out there because they're coming into view. Leonard is one of them, and Devaraj the other. So, Maxstat with the disc, and of course he launches it. Repperman giving chase. Ross has position, and there's nothing that Shayna can do about it. And she sends it to Clenendon, and we've got a 1-point game. So, a hold for DC, but it didn't take him very long. And 15 seconds in, 15 points on the board, 16 for Supercell. So, as Amanda said, DC is filled with great players. They're not going to quit. And hey, I'd like to give a shout out to a good friend of mine, one of my favorite rec league teammates of all time, and I played 28 years of rec league, so you know that's a lot of people. Amrita Malikarjan, but if you're a friend, and you should be, you just call her Fez. Fez watched last night's game to watch DC Breeze. She's a fan of the Breeze and friend of many of the players. And so we connected this morning on the phone, and we went down the roster, and she gave me the scoop on a lot of these players. I learned a lot about the DC women, and it's good to have friends in high places and low places. Hopefully, Fez and I and our good buddy Dagny Cook will get to reunite this summer sometime, maybe at Wildwood. Dags is bi-coastal now, and it just goes to show you the friendships that you make in this game at any level. From rec league and pickup games. It was at rec league and appropriately pickup that I met my wife, Marie Norman, many, many years ago, to the pro level like this and club nationals. Those friendships matter. They last forever. And so thanks a lot, Fez, for all the help. Jonathan Mast has to lay one out into space for Beardsley. He climbs the ladder in front of Thaw, and that's the kind of play we've gotten used to from him. And here's one that we've gotten used to from Normile. She guns it into the end zone, and climbing the ladder again is Max Shepard. We're going to see if there is a call, and the call is goal. Marcus Thaw not happy about it. Feels like Max Shepard used his back as a ladder. Mike Gorham disagrees. Marcus and Max having a conversation, but it's going to be to no avail. If this were a USAU game, there'd probably be a protracted discussion. That wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, but we're playing under AUDL rules, and so it's settled very efficiently, and that's with referee Mike Gorham signaling goal. Just like it took DC Mixed only 15 seconds to score their goal, Thunderbirds strike back in 15 seconds themselves. I want to talk to Anthony Mobile. He is the trainer for UPMC Sports Medicine and for the Thunderbirds and Supercell today. What does the heat do for your business when these teams are playing on a hot, humid day like this?
So thankfully, these athletes are really conditioned and they're used to playing in the heat. But if they're not used to it, it can take a guy out in a quarter.
So what do you do to counteract that aside from keeping these guys hydrated? Is there more cramping? You have to worry about that?
So actually keeping hydrated does not reduce your risk of heat injury. So the best way to stay away from a heat injury is to get used to working out in the heat. So drinking too much can actually hurt you. So what you want to do is make sure you drink what you normally drink at a game and you work out at the regular intensity that you do all year.
Got it. So you can't make up for sitting around on the couch and only going out when it's nice by drinking a lot. In fact, I guess you risk hyponatremia at that point, and
yes,
that can
sir.
be a very dangerous condition where you can't, where the sodium levels get diluted in your blood and can be life-threatening. So, well, it's good to have you here, and so far haven't been too busy, I hope.
No, not at all.
All right. Well, Kenahara, as we say in Yiddish, knock wood, it should stay that way. But it's good to know that you're here just in case we do have an injury, and it's the man who keeps Supercell healthy. Thanks a lot, Anthony.
Thank you.
Marcus Thaw didn't like that one. I guess felt like Max Shepard climbed the ladder at his expense, but didn't get the call that he wanted. If this had been a USAU game, would that have been a longer discussion?
Yes, it would definitely be a longer discussion. It's just interesting because the rules pretty much specifically state you can't make a play where you know you're going to make that contact. You're supposed to prohibit yourself from doing that.
Because a play that it's not, and it's not the NFL where I got the disc first doesn't
Right.
mean anything. If you're going to wipe another guy out, then it's an illegal play. We just saw a pull from a reverse brick, which helped your team quite a bit. Looks like there was an offsides call. Marcus thought you're okay though. So Marcus is all right, and then a quick throw into the end zone. Scott Trimble is there, but not there in time to stop Norbaum from pulling it down. And again, 17-16, and we haven't even seen a minute expire in this third period, and the scores are coming fast and furious, one every 15 seconds. At this rate, we should be seeing 4 a minute, which would mean that we're going to see 44 more scores. I don't think that's going to happen. So hopefully things will settle down a little bit. But for right now, shooters going to shoot, as they say in this game. And the shooters are shooting, and they are finding their marks. Hopefully we'll be able to get a hold of Pat Hammonds or maybe Dave Leonetti. Walking over towards Pat. Pat Hammonds is here. We don't want to disturb him for too long because he's got a game to coach. But, Pat, they say Shooter's going to shoot. The first 3 points of this period have come in 15-second intervals. Do you expect things to settle down a little bit?
You know what? I just want to see us take whatever's open. And we're doing a really good job of diagnosing the defense and using our weapons. We got a lot of shooters all over the field, both lines, all 4 lines really across the board. So if it's working, let's make it rain. But I do know right now you're seeing some really good motion, some unders, some handler-led, and it creates a good shot with a good opportunity for a play. Ooh.
Oh, I felt it too. I saw Molly Moore underneath. She had traffic, but it was nicely placed. Was that what you wanted to see off of that motion? I mean, will you take that shot every time?
100% of the time. We're creating our shots. Nothing's being thrown from a standstill. Everything's from motion. Everything's to good space. You know, both teams have created those opportunities. Both teams have cashed in. Both teams have had to dig in and play defense when they don't work out. But we're playing our game right now. I couldn't be any happier with the way we're moving it.
Could you get used to coaching this squad?
Definitely. This team is a dream. You know, our practices have been great. Timeout called.
Okay, Pat's got to go and do some work. Timeout called. But yeah, you heard him say it, that they work for those shots. He doesn't want his team to pull back its claws at all if they've got an opportunity to send it deep. And it's a legitimate opportunity created by the motion among the handlers and downfield cutters cycling. Then he wants to see him take it, and that was a legitimate opportunity there. Sam Van Duzen, a great thrower, to Molly Moore, a great receiver. Couldn't quite come down with it, but the D team is going to go out on the field and see if they can break back and hold for this point. It would be pretty critical because Supercell's been able to maintain a lead thus far, but that lead feeling a little bit more precarious right now. DC hanging tough, turning up the intensity in the second half and inching closer. If we can, though he's just come down to rest, we're going to see if Delrico Johnson's going to talk to us for a second. You've made some plays where you've used your speed, which is storied. I know because I've heard stories about it, to track down some poached blocks. Do you see more opportunities to do that in a game like this, or is it just what you always look for?
I think it's what I always look for, especially if a team's in a horizontal stack and I'm on the offside cutter. It's just, I believe it's good ultimate to look for the deep shot because most likely the cross-field throw to your outside cutters is a difficult throw.
Now, do you normally come back? I've seen you come back when you've tried to push the women downfield a little bit to handle. Is that a role that you're familiar and comfortable with?
Over the years, I've gotten more comfortable coming back. Thinking of myself as a hybrid. Just being comfortable with the disc, being able to move it, allows our women to cut really well downfield.
Are you, I know you haven't had a lot of time to practice and work together, but it looks like you guys have rapidly coalesced. Are you guys feeling more and more like a team as the game goes on?
Yeah, I think more reps allows us to play together, allows us to play more and easier.
Could you get used to this?
Yeah, definitely.
Delrico, thanks so much, and good luck for the rest of this game. It's shaping up to be an epic one.
Thank you.
Disc in the hands of Leonard, back to Pat Mack. Looks off Lehman, throws one up to Alex Thomas, but Troy Holland gets the block. Norbaum picks it up. That one is one that they're going to regret because they had a couple of opportunities to get blocks, came up with one. Libby Lehman on the mark, sealing off the inside. There's an around instead to Brad Scott. He throws an inside. He finds Holland. This one sent up. Mockridge throws one deep. She's got a receiver. The disc sitting out in front of her. And she holds her position in front of a defending Libby Lehman who couldn't catch up. And with 9:29 left, DC ties it up. So what was a 3-goal lead became a 2-goal lead, became a 1-goal lead, and now that lead is gone. So Supercell has got to find a way to kiss that lead goodbye, wash it off, and get down to the business of trying to build it back up. And this could come down to one possession. It wouldn't surprise anybody with this team. DC, they certainly didn't give up, and they're owning the action, if by a little bit. Thunderbirds unable to capitalize on some opportunities created by their D team. And now the O team will take the field and try to do something which has become increasingly difficult in this half, and that's just to hold. They've got to come out, work that disc, and maybe, despite Pat Hammonds' statement that he wants his team to take the shots when they're there, it might be time for them to be more careful. A beautiful pull settles down in the end zone. Jonathan Mast picks up the disc, marked by Swift, who's a good marker and a good defender. Jess Mast behind him. She said that Jonathan isn't crazy about playing with her. She enjoys playing with him. Christie working in the middle, gets a hand on a pass that's behind her, and DC gets a quick turnover on the goal line. Swift picks it up, laces an inside out to Do, looking for Marcus Thaw. She is surrounded. There's a block, a big block by the big man, Ethan Beardsley. And with a receiver, a thrower like Do, who is small, and a defender like Beardsley, that's bound to happen sometimes. And Ethan Beardsley, once again, as he has all weekend, coming up big for the Thunderbirds. He's working downfield against Thaw, and Christy Laurie sees him and jacks that backhand. It's just a matter of whether or not Ethan can catch up to it. Tracks into the back of the end zone with an enormous layout, and he can't hang on to it. He had it before he hit the ground, but it could not survive contact with the ground. Great shot by Christy Laurie. Gave nobody but Ethan a chance to get it. Unfortunately, couldn't hold on to it. And inside out, finds its way to Bowser Dew. She sends one to Trineri. Trineri marked by Christie. Carolyn Normile chasing Dew. This one comes back to Swift. Mast on the mark. An important point for Supercell. Pagano defending the in-cut. Johnson gets hit in the back by the head of Owen Watt. And we might get a timeout called by White. So the margins for error getting tighter and tighter. Christy Laurie with very few options there except for Ethan Beardsley going deep, and that's a good one. She launched a huck, which is about as nice as any that you're going to see at this level, and she found her target in the back of the end zone. But we said you're running downhill back there, and if you've been running uphill and upwind, he probably would have been able to just use his height to pull that one down. But Ethan Beardsley, that one got out in front of him and unfortunately unable to survive contact with the ground after a heroic layout bid.
That was a great play. That was the distance you needed to be to get past Marcus. So, yeah, that was awesome. Double team too, that was sweet.
Over here, Ethan Beardsley and Max Shepard reassuring Christy Laurie that was a hell of a throw, which it was. One of the things I remarked on earlier, Ethan, is that you're running downhill in that direction. So you've not only got the wind behind you, you've got that hill. Does that make that disc fall a little bit faster?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was kind of coming. It kept carrying a little bit. So I was just trying to make sure I caught it, and then we'll see where my feet were at.
Great bid, and can't pull all of those down, but when you're cutting for somebody like that, you're going to get your chances, that's
Absolutely.
for sure. She's a great thrower. Supercell D. Back of Brad Scott. If he'd been looking, he would have picked off Yee's pass. He didn't. Steve May throws one up to Trimble. He pulls it down. He had Erlinson working downfield against Ross. Decides against it. This one shot out to Trimble again. Erlinson trying to push past a very physical defender in Ross. Trimble needs a little bit of help, and a timeout is called. Oh, pick was called.
There we go, Sharon. We need you, Sharon.
After a pick call, Trimble sends it across the field to Leonard. Leonard had Erlinson, didn't have the angle, sends it back to Trimble. May cutting in, breaks it to the inside. Cutting hard to it is Jack Heffernan. Kerrigan right on him, and he calls a timeout. He knows how gassed his team is. And with 6:55 left and the score tied, critical possession, there's no reason whatsoever to save these timeouts. And so, Heffernan secures possession and calls time. It is hot out here. Humidity's not 100%, but these players are still working hard. Just heard Norbaum come off the field and say, this is what it's all about. And his team agrees with him. And we hope you will too. 17-17, a game that's been well played. The teams have made mistakes, but most of those mistakes have been forced by hard, high-pressure defense from the other team. We've seen some zone. We've seen some double teams. We've seen teams trying something new, players getting to know each other. And I think it's obvious that there's nobody here at this venue who hopes that this is going to be the last time that teams like this come out and compete with each other. Whoever wins the game, it's a win for Pro Ultimate, because this has been a fantastic showcase. Something new, something great, and these teams are as hyped as can be. Max Shepard picks up the disc. He's about 30-35 yards from pay dirt. He's going to be marked by Marcus Thaw, flanked by Christy Laurie. Top of the stack is Van Duzen, marked by Neely. Moore behind him. Laurie checks over her shoulder, catches the disc, continues, throws it out to Molly Moore, but it's just beyond her. Again, that field disappears in a slope, and DC with a chance to seize their first lead in a long, long while. Stahl getting up. Sumida with a drop. High pressure from Molly Moore. Van Duzen goes to pick it up and leaves it for Shepard. This one is sent up for Molly Moore. She catches it in front of the back cone. And what a big play. Thunderbirds send their offensive team out there. They are stymied when a throw to Molly Moore goes just beyond her grasp. But then Molly, high pressure on the defense, causes a drop and then goes downfield. Max Shepard doesn't hesitate. Sam Van Duzen leaves it for him. Shepard picks it up, sends a backhand up the line. Molly Moore gathers it in before the back cone, and the Supercell seizes a one-goal lead. We've got 6 minutes and 30 seconds left in this contest, at least in regulation. Score is 18 for Supercell, 17 for DC Mixed. Supercell with an opportunity to hold, and DC with a chance to actually move into the lead, but it wasn't to be on that play. Still, there's no let-up in intensity from either team. You can see them talking about adjustments they might make. Daryl Stanley's here. It's busy, but we just want to ask you, Coach, is this everything you hope for from this game?
Well, yeah, I mean, pure excitement, right? Like, this is a really, really fun and close game.
Yeah, I mean, you compare it with the atmosphere that we had last night, which was a good AUDL crowd, and
this crowd's raucous.
It is.
Right?
They are rocking, and I think that the players are feeling a lot of intensity. And to me, it's something that I wouldn't expect it to dissipate if these guys were to do this again.
Yeah, let's do it again.
I'm all for it. Thanks a lot, Daryl. His team picking up the disc. Neely swinging it out to Norbaum. Pat Mack puts the mark on. Susan Deverage fronting a cut in. A little bit of trouble generating a cut, and a foul on the mark. Siccioni bumps Norbaum, and no, I'm sorry, that's Holland, and Holland steps it off. He throws one out into space, gathered in by Wallace. She finds Valvo. Valvo sends it back to Ross, and a huge bid by Pat Mack right on the cone against his opposite number, Norbaum, but he throws it safely to Wallace, and we're tied up again. And Shayna Repperman looks over at Mike Gorham and said she was picked. And Brian Heim, who calls picks in the back of that end zone, he didn't see it, but Shayna clearly did. Had to hold up on defense, and you know, there's one of the disadvantages of not playing with the hybrid observer system. If these orange-shirted guys were actually observers, then Shayna could have called that pick and it could have been adjudicated. As it is, she simply has to throw her hands up in the air, and that's frustrating for an ultimate player. As an ultimate player, you are used to having control of your game, and in that situation, Shayna could only look beseechingly at a referee, so if you're inclined to appreciate the ultimate player's perspective, then that's frustrating, and it's a mark in favor of the hybrid observer system. That said, the decision was made, we've moved on, and there are 6 minutes remaining in the game. Maybe 5:39, depending upon just what parts of that scoreboard are broken. I haven't figured it out yet. Getting a signal from the clock keeper, thanks very much. It is 5:39 remaining. Score's knotted up at 18, and seconds may matter. This is a high pull, but it's going to be a brick. Settles down out of bounds. Kat Pagano going to pick it up. Smollen's going to mark her, and going to be joined probably by Marcus Thaw. He was trailing the play. No, he's going to sag back off of Jonathan Mass into that throwing lane. We'll see what Pagano decides to do. She breaks, finds Christy Laurie. That's a power position for Christy, and she airs it out. A little stumble off of the break by Normile, and it's just enough to throw her off of that cut, but it didn't really matter because I think Christy, fooled like a lot of us have been today by the orientation of the field, expecting that end zone to be a little bit further back. And so that one sailed out of bounds, put on the back line, and Swift picks it up, brings it up. Van Dusen marking him. He throws one up to Johnson. Johnson has to jump up and get it. Beardsley marking him. Downfield is Thaw. Swift going up the line. Van Dusen trailing him. Swift in the power position, winds up, and the disc runs into Sam Van Dusen, who is called for a contact foul. 10 yards will be marked off. And there's the whistle. Of course, you can move in the AUDL before the whistle. Mast and Thaw working hard against each other. Thaw with the disc, looking up the line. He laces an inside backwards to Swift. Swift finds Johnson. The men handling right now for DC. Women working downfield. This one finds Smollen. Smollen on the corner. She's got Trineri. Trineri catches it behind a leaping Jess Mast. And DC seizes its first lead in a long time. I'm not sure whether or not they've led at all this game. My thought is they may have led once early on in the first period, but they lead again, 19-18, shifting the pressure a little bit to the Thunderbirds. They've got a hold and then they've got a break. Susan Deverage trying to pump up her teammates. They come off the field. And you can hear naked Bill Holman leading a cheer across the field. Not sure what happened in the Hucket Bucket Challenge. Probably not everybody's first concern, but it was up to $400. And as we said last night, that's real money around here. All right. Back to receive this critical pull. Max Shepard, Owen Watt, Linda Morse, Molly Moore, Sarah Lemansky, Felipe Delgado, and Christy Laurie. Countering on defense. Bartenstein, Holland, Matt Neely, Ross, Bowser, Clenenden, and Wallace. Max Shepard's got it. Makes ready to launch it, but doesn't. Delgado catches it. Doesn't have a lot downfield. Sends it sideways, but throws it too far downfield. And Bowser gets in front of Christy Laurie. Makes the block on the doorstep. DC, disc in the hands of Bartenstein. Sends it back to Holland. Holland finds Bartenstein in the middle of the field again. Fakes the forehand, looks back at his dump, decides to break instead. He's heavily pressed by a diving AT. And we've got a block by Molly Moore and a late whistle. Actually, they were going to call contact on the mark, but it looks to me like an integrity rule was invoked. Mike Gorham waved it off, and right away, Max Shepard strikes back. Owen Watt trying to play this back. A lot of contact. And Mike Gorham makes a call. There was a lot of jockeying for position there, and it would be hard to know which one of those contacts he called. Marcus Thaw, who is applying for a job as commentator eventually, says there's no specific rule, he says, for arms around neck. Owen Watt disagrees with him and I think admits to the foul. So Bartenstein picks it up. And time is wound down as this point has gone on, and it's a critical point for Supercell. 2:45 left. Morse on the defense. This one is beyond the reach of Bowser. Max Shepard's going to pick it up. He's got Morse in the end zone. Sends it back to Laurie. Laurie's a shooter. She throws one up to Max Shepard, who climbs the ladder to pull it down. He's got a target. Morse has company. It's out in front of her, and it sails out the side of the end zone. You got to figure that Supercell could have been patient and gotten a better shot than that. Max Shepard loves his throws. Not sure he loved that one. So Bartenstein, disc on the pylon. Pylon moved by Shepard. Christy Laurie sags into the throwing lane. This one comes to Bowser. She sends it out to Clenendon. It pops up on her, but she corrals it. Nice throw made out into space for Neely. Neely has Delgado on him. He launches a backhand cross field. This one running towards the sideline in front of Ross. Ross gives chase and pulls it down. Spikes it. And with 1:47 left, it's a 2-point lead for DC Mixed. Great opportunity down on the goal line for Supercell, but it was thrown away in the corner. And then Mixed strikes back with nice handler play to switch the fields, and then a shot from Neely, which found Ross. Ross exuberantly throws it down. David Batts asks Christy Laurie, "Are you tired?" That's probably not a question you want to ask if you want an honest answer right now, because the answer is going to be no matter what. Christy Laurie wants the disc in her hands when the game is on the line, and the game is definitely on the line right now. Not only does Supercell need to score, it needs to score pretty quickly. 1:47 is a lot of time, but they cannot afford to turn this over. They've got to be efficient with it. They can afford to make passes to in-cuts, but they can't afford to turn the disc over. Jess Mass picks it up, Sumita Honor. She pops it out to Pagano. Thunderbirds going with their female handler lineup. Sam Van Dusen has it. Looks to throw the big forehand. And there's a contact foul. He gets 10 more yards. 1:33. Thunderbirds preparing for the next point. This one sent out into space to Pagano. Not a lot of motion downfield, and she needs some. And Delrico Johnson might have stuffed out the Thunderbirds' chances. Swift with the disc. Delrico with a huge layout catch. A catch block. Now it's in the hands of Smullen. She finds Johnson again. He's looking. Molly Moore exhorting Christy Laurie. Marcus Daw sends one up to Delrico Johnson. Right now, DC looking to bleed time, and we're under a minute. This one headed to the back of the end zone. Beardsley giving chase, but Thaw pulls it down. Actually, he's on the goal line. That tricky field again, sends it out. And Sarah Bucksbaum, a.k.a. Pitt, delivers the blow that might put Pittsburgh out of contention. You got 3-point lead here for DC, 21-18, 50 seconds left. And you got to figure that the only thing that Pittsburgh can do right now is huck and hope. There are no 2-pointers, not since the Cuervo tournament of the late 90s. I know Dave Leonetti remembers those. A DC surge in the second half mirrors in some ways the surge by the DC Breeze in the second half last night, though they had a much stiffer hill to climb, a much steeper hill to climb against the Supercell team. They've just played a little bit better, and Pittsburgh maybe trying to cash in too quickly on opportunities that require just another pass or two. But even if this lead holds up, the larger purpose of this game, I think, has been amply served, and that is those people who have been arguing that the future of Pro Ultimate includes room for mixed Pro Ultimate. They've been vindicated by what we've seen here. Van Dusen obviously going to look deep, but it's clogged back there. Sends it out to Lemansky. We're down to 37 seconds. Lemansky finds Shepard. Shepard's got to air it out. He's going to look for more. Nope, Lemansky gets it back. She finds, it pops up on Yee. Yee expects that maybe Van Dusen's going to lay out for it. He doesn't. We're down to 20 seconds. Bowser has it. Throws it into the middle to Swift. Time bleeding off on the clock. We're down to 13 seconds. Thunderbirds trying to stop the next throw, but now it's pretty clear. Neely's got to make one more. We've got 5 seconds, and Swift doesn't have to throw it. And the game is over as time bleeds off the clock. DC, with the second half surge, comes back against Pittsburgh Supercell in the first of what we hope will be many games of Pro Mixed Ultimate. Pittsburgh dejected, but they've got to be happy with the effort that they gave, with the chemistry that they were able to cook up in this, their first real game together, And they played against a tremendous team, a team made up of players from Truck Stop and Scandal. And they managed to hold their own against them and to play better, but in the end, DC turned up the pressure on defense, and I think that made a lot of difference there. And I think that in your first game with any team, even though that trust is there, there are going to be situations where a player may try to make too much happen all at once, and that might have happened there for the Thunderbird Supercell team, which probably threw some ill-advised throws. But tremendous athletic play from guys like Johnson, from players like Ross, who closed out the Thunderbirds. Swift played 2 terrific defensive games, Holland, and of course Xavier Maxtat making the kinds of throws that he likes to make. We're going to walk out onto the field, and I'll look back at Dave Onomastico. He'll let me know if my microphone starts to cut out. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to some of these players. I know the Pittsburgh players are disappointed, but as they go and applaud the crowd, and then DC comes over to join them, applauding the crowd. We've got a little impromptu dance scene going on here with Brad Scott, and Troy Holland, and Bowser Dew. And and the crowd chanting one more game. But I think they gave plenty, and these players are going to have to deliver that game in the future. But we really hope they do. We're going to see if we can listen in on the huddle. Looking over at Dave to see whether or not he's still got audio from me. He'll give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, maybe. I don't know if he can hear me, but I'm looking back, and let's listen in on what the Thunderbirds have to say. Don't know if you could pick up what was said in the Supercell huddle. Pat Hammonds reminding his team of the accomplishment represented just by being here in this game today. And then David Vatz with his usual colorful language, thanking the women in the circle who made it all happen. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to some of the members of the team. Looking for a team picture. And we're going to just try to get one quick interview if we can, and then we'll have to sign off. So let's wait for the, and we might have signed off already, but I definitely want to talk to some of these players and hear what they have to say after a really thrilling event and a thrilling game. So well, we're probably not going to get that interview, but fortunately we got to talk a lot to the players during the game on both sides, and I'm just going to declare today's game a resounding success. A success on the field for Pittsburgh, not what they wanted, a 21-18 loss. Certainly an impressive display of grit by a team with a lot of players from DC Grit, DC women's team, who came back from a deficit, a 3-goal deficit, to end up with a 3-goal victory. But a victory for ultimate, for mixed ultimate, for the city of Pittsburgh, for the city of DC, and I think for the AUDL. I hope they learn the lessons of today, and that is that mixed ultimate is a powerful, powerful arrow in our quiver in reaching sports fans who have never really seen anything quite like this, and I think they're going to want a lot of it. So here's to calling more of these games for you in the future. Whether you joined us from D.C., Pittsburgh, or points elsewhere, hope you enjoyed the broadcast. If you did, leave a comment in the Facebook comments thread. Thank you for being with us. For the Pittsburgh Thunderbirds, Supercell Mixed Team, D.C. Mixed, the AUDL, Steel Toe Productions, I'd like to say thanks for joining us, and please join us again. Have a great day.